Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, where we dig into the real stories behind company finances. Today we're dissecting Offerpad's Q2 2025 report, and it seems like this company is navigating some pretty choppy waters in the housing market. They're trying to keep their head above water, but the current economic climate is really making them work for it. This is their quarterly report, kind of a snapshot of how they're doing. Let's get right into the numbers. Looking at their balance sheet for June 30, 25, compared to December 31, 2024, we see their cash and cash equivalents took a pretty significant hit. They went from $43 million down to just over $22 million. That's nearly cut in half, and their restricted cash also dropped quite a bit, down from about $30 million to just $4 million. This suggests they might be using more cash than they're bringing in or facing some tight financing. Their real estate inventory stayed relatively stable, around $212 million, which is good, but it hasn't really moved the needle. Now let's dive into what really tells the tale, how they are performing financially. For the 3 months ending June 30, 2025, their total revenue was about $160 million. Now, that's a big drop, nearly 36% less than the $251 million they brought in during the same period last year. This is largely because they 282 homes they sold in Q2 2024. Imagine losing almost 40% of your sales. Their gross profit also took a hit, falling from over $21 million in Q2 2024 to around $14 million in Q2 2025. That's about a 35% decrease, even though the price of the homes they sold went up slightly to about $344,000. They just didn't sell enough to make up for the lost volume. On the bright side, they did manage to cut their operating expenses. Sales, marketing, and operating costs went down by about 35%, and general and administrative expenses dropped around 26%. That shows they are trying to control costs, which is smart in this market. Despite cutting costs, their loss from operations was still significant, though it did improve slightly compared to last year. They lost about $7.7 million from operations in Q2 2024, and the bottom line, their net loss was around $10.9 million for Q2 2025. That's better than the nearly $13.8 million net loss in Q2 2024, but it still means they're losing money. Looking at the first half of the year, the story is similar. Total revenue dropped by a whopping 40% from $536 million in 2024 to $321 million in 2025. They sold fewer than 912 homes in the first half of 2025, compared to over 1,500 homes in the first half of 2025, compared to over 1,500 homes in the first half of 2025, compared to over 1,500 homes in the same period last year. That's a 43% drop in the number of homes sold. Their gross profit for the first 6 months also fell significantly by about 44%, from $44 million to just over $24 million. Their loss from operations narrowed a bit from over $23 million in the first half of 2024 to about $19 million in the first half of 2025. And their net loss for the first 6 months of 2025 was around $26 million, which is an improvement from the $31 million net loss in the first half of 2024. So they are losing less money, but they are still losing money. When we look at their equity, specifically their accumulated deficit, it's a big negative number, over $486 million as of June 2025. This just means they've accumulated a lot of losses over time. Their total stockholders' equity also dropped quite a bit, from about $47 million at the end of 2024 to $24 million by mid-2025. The cash flow statement confirms what we're seeing. In the first 6 months of 2025, they used $23.6 million in operating activities. This is an improvement from the $52 million they used in the same period last year, but it still shows they are burning cash. Financing activities also showed a cash outflow. They paid down more debt than they took on, with a cash outflow of over $22 million in financing activities for the first half of 2025. Digging deeper into their debt, they have a lot of credit facilities. As of June 2025, they still had over $215 million in credit facilities and other debt. While this number is down from over $237 million at the end of last year, it's still a substantial amount. Some of this debt is with financial institutions, but a significant chunk is with a related party, over $38 million, and credit facilities and other debt. While this number is down from over $37 million at the end of last year, it's still a substantial amount. Some of this debt is with financial institutions, but a significant chunk is with a related party, over $38 million. Interestingly, they have a related party facility with a 9.32% interest rate. And then there are mezzanine facilities also with related parties. These are even more expensive. One of them has an interest rate of 13%. That's a lot to pay back. Speaking of related parties, they have quite a few transactions. They've got loans with affiliates of LL Capital Partners and even direct family members working for the company. Brian Baer's brothers, Vaughn and Casey, and his sister-in-law, Katie Bullard, are all employed there, and their compensation is detailed. It's not uncommon for founders to have family involved, but it's always something to keep an eye on. For instance, Vaughn Baer and Katie Bullard received over $600,000 in compensation combined in the first half of 2025. And Casey Baer, who separated in August 2024, received severance payments along with his compensation back then. They also have some legal matters to deal with. There's a class action lawsuit alleging breach of fiduciary duties related to a SPAC merger back in 2021. While the company and some defendants were dismissed from the case, the plaintiff has since lifted the stay. The outcome is uncertain and the company is unable to estimate potential losses for its indemnification obligations. There's also the issue with the New York Stock Exchange. Offerpad received a notice because its average global market capitalization and its stockholders' equity fell below $50 million. They've submitted a plan to fix this and are being monitored quarterly. This is a significant risk as failing to meet listing standards could lead to delisting. They recently conducted a stock offering and sold shares and warrants, raising about $6 million. This is a small amount, but it might help them with their working capital needs. So what's the big picture here? Offerpad is clearly struggling with the current real estate market. High interest rates are hurting demand, and they're selling fewer homes at lower profit margins. They're cutting costs, which is good, but their revenue is down significantly. They're also carrying a lot of debt, some of it at high interest rates, and dealing with a fragile market and NC compliance issues. In my opinion, Offerpad's strategy is trying to balance a tough market by reducing inventory acquisition and pushing their asset-light services like B2B renovations. This is a sensible move to conserve cash, but it also means significantly lower revenue from their core business. The related party transactions and compensation are standard for many companies, but bear watching. The NYC issue is a big red flag that needs immediate attention to ensure their shares can continue to be traded. For Offerpad, the biggest challenge is navigating the current economic climate, particularly interest rates, while trying to grow their less capital-intensive services. Their ability to manage their debt and regain compliance with the stock exchange will be critical for their survival and future growth. It's a tough market and they're feeling the pressure. Alright, that's our breakdown of Offerpad's latest financial report and what it means for the company. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for this company's future? Let me know in the comments below. If this analysis was valuable, smash that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into company finances, and don't forget to join our Discord community linked in the description for more discussions and insights. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of Corporate Decoder.